Manish. Welcome to our channel.
Hey, Bhumika, thanks for having me.
Okay, so before we start, I'll just give you a little introduction about myself and about fibrai. So, as you know, my name is Bhumika. I'm working as a marketing associate here, and we have started our own channel, Mind Your Conversions by fibrai, and we have started to take the interview of the experts who are really doing well in their industry. So it will help our audience to gain the insights and their point of
Yeah.
view. So thank you for joining us. And before we start, can you give a little bit of introduction about yourself and your journey in product management and your experience there? Like how you have started and what passionate you to work here?
Yeah, thanks, Bhumika. I mean, I had like a very interesting story in product, but I kind of get to that post my intro. So right now I work as a product manager at Athena Health. So this is a US-based healthcare MNC right now. But before this, I was into a lot of like fintech space. So I was into a lot of like startups in India and like outside India, right, which is not India based. And previous to that, I was actually a data scientist. So I kind of like moved between from data science to product management. In terms of like what was my journey in product management, so I went into a cliche kind of role where I did engineering like so many other people in India, and I got into a data science role at Royal Bank of Scotland. So while I was enjoying my whole role of like being a data scientist, and it was very nice, I just realized that hey, I probably may not be the best data scientist because maybe there is some other skills that's probably lacking with me, but like and that's when it kind of got me thinking, like what is it that I am good at, and what should I be like doing. So this was back in like 2018, where product management was not like this crazy like how you see today. And I literally kind of like googled, like, hey, I really love solving problems, I like to talk to people, work with people, right? What is a role that I can go to, right? And that's when I kind of found product management through like through a Google search, and through that, then basically, I kind of like interviewed at like startups, and luckily somebody like decided to give me a chance, and that's how I kind of like started. But briefly, my journey has been mostly into all kinds. So I've been at like a very early stage startup. I've been at like a Series B funded kind of a startup, and right now I'm in like a MNC as well, right? So I've kind of seen like a lot of breadth, which is where I find product management in each of these different places different. So maybe we will talk about that in this discussion.
Okay, it's really cool. Like I think this roller coaster journey for you from starting from a data scientist to here as a
Yeah.
product management. So like next question aligns to the first. Like given your experience with AI and you have already said you have worked with the AI startups as well, early
Yeah.
startups, how did you bridge the gap between your technology with the stakeholders as well? Like what
Yeah.
are the challenges that you face in aligning with the technical teams with business goals?
Yeah. I mean, working with tech teams and developers is something that I really enjoy. Like you said, being a technologist myself, it kind of brings another like unique perspective to like how do you like deal with them, right? Typically, I feel the biggest thing that I do when I work on any project is basically really ensure the team actually understands the final goal, right? Like, what are we like working for? Like, you're in a startup, let's say you're building a fintech app, like, what exactly is the problem that it is solving, right? So, until they really understand, it is very hard for you to like build a really good product because even as a product manager, you could still, come back with ideas, come up with like high level project plans. The developer is actually making so many decisions as they code, right? So that's the finest grain of like logic. So as a developer makes those decisions, they kind of need to know what is it, what is the really end goal, right? So my playbook typically ensures that that I really motivate them. I ensure they really understand the end goal kind of thing, right? And then it kind of also depends on great planning, right? So finally, you should be able to put a huge set of like ideas into like a page basically, right? And get your development team into that so that they exactly understand what is the problem that we are solving, what are the sub problems, right? And then finally, also probably you have to do a lot of brainstorming with them. And there again, right, you should not shy away in solving the harder problems. So typically, you build a complex feature, even if there are a lot of convoluted things there, right? There may not be pure clarity there. I also want to typically focus on solving that very hard problem initially with the tech team. So once they kind of get a good clarity around how do they work, solve this particular problem, they eventually kind of get better. And finally, I think this working with tech teams differs again, since I worked at like an early stage, slightly bigger startups, and then like an MNC, right? So different tech teams have like different expectations. Like for example, in an early stage, you want to build something very quickly and test it in the market, right? So your alignment with the tech team is like, no, don't build me the perfect solution. Build me something that works, that I can like put in front of a customer, right? But if you go to a MNC, your problem, they probably want to build it in the right way, solve it for all kinds of like users, right? Solve, also build a very scalable solution. So making sure your tech team understands why you are asking them to build it quickly is again, going back to the first point, right? So yeah, this is how I typically kind of like work with tech teams, and so far, kind of has helped me a lot.
I think what you have said, like in his startups as well, but wherever I have learned about it, or wherever I have listened about these topics, like people in a startup start doing and start selling the things because they think like that if we should sell this, we can make it also. So I think in startups was that as well. But it is a good way for them because if people will like their product, it is their goal to make that product or that
Yeah.
technology. Like we in our field, we always listen about CRO. We work as the CRO team. So, like in
Yeah.
your experience, how do product management directly influence with the conversion rate optimization CRO? Like how do you ensure that product development aligns with the business growth as well as especially in the metrics for improving engagement or retention?
Yeah, I think your product finally plays a key role on like connecting the business goals with like what is the user needs and like driving that, right? And whenever I've kind of dealt with like driving the CROs or conversion ratios, right? Uh, so I mean, product always like played a key role. For example, my experience with this US fintech where we were trying to get users to kind of like get to an app which helps them solve their credit problems, right? So where I kind of like extensively worked with like design, analytics, leadership to kind of like decide how to like drive, find users from your like landing page to like get them to the aha stage, kind of thing, right? So um, the kind of role that product plays again here is like defining the real problems, right? Like for example, if I were to kind of like go build a really good flow and drive a lot of conversion there, right? I have to really understand the users. So who is my user? Like there can be different kinds of users, different personas. What is their problems? Like why are they even like on your like landing page, right? Like from there to the entire funnel, that's where the product kind of like defines who the user I'm trying to solve, what is the problem that I'm trying to solve, and then like work with UX analytics, right, to kind of figure out how do you now, given these user problems, how do you then define these flows, how do you like optimize them like over the time.
Like, do you also think like the traditional CRO is changing into a, like a AI-based CRO? Because I ask many types of
Yeah.
people, they have like
Yeah.
different point of view that
Yeah.
traditional CRO is much better in that way, and modern CRO, AI-based CRO is very different. Do you think
Yeah.
like CRO is changing over time in
Yeah, I
every
think.
field of marketing?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it definitely is changing, because like finally, the difference now with AI is like hyper personalization, right? Like, so let's say I know who Bhumika is. Bhumika has her own unique interest, right? So I can tune my flows based on like what I know about Bhumika, right? Like, so because
Right.
what I've learned, at least on the whole conversions overall, is that every user finally is unique, right? You can surely group them, but if you are able to like subgroup them into more specific things, you can give them like different flows. Like for example, and then users think of it like a story. Like I get on a landing page, right? Let's say I'm on a fintech page, maybe I am interested to like buy more gold, right? Or somebody is interested to like go invest in like a specific mutual fund, right? So different users have different needs, right? Now, the advantage probably with AI is it is able to quickly learn from your decisions and like quickly personalize these flows for you. So which is why, yeah, I think that I definitely am like pro AI on that sense where like I think with AI, things are going to be more automated, more personalized, and you'll see real traffic, like real conversions, high conversions, kind of like driven.
Or you can say in just real time insights. You can get, if you have done this thing, you can get the result within the 24 hours. This is the power of AI in CRO.
Yep.
Like if we move ahead, like everyone does things for the first time, but there are always a biggest mistake they have taken for the first step. Like what do you think like product managers does the first mistake uh, at the time they are building a product or at the time they are
Yeah.
thinking about building a product? Like, what are the misconceptions around the product
Yeah.
development that needs to be changed?
Yeah, if you think of the role of a product manager, right, like it's a very vague kind of a role, right? Like the product manager can do anything and everything. The strict definition to the role is not really there, right? Which is why, since your role becomes very abstract, the chances of like making mistake also is higher. Like for example, a developer can be more specific; they exactly know what their role is, right? But yeah, the typical thing that I've seen where is people actually don't solve real problems, right? So what happens is like you make a lot of assumptions on some of these problems which don't really exist or exist for a very niche segment, right? And that's a common pitfall that I've seen. The other things can be somewhere around like, for example, understanding context. Like I said, as a product manager, you need to operate in different places in different ways. Like for example, if you are in like a very early stage company, your problem is to go find the PMF, right? It is not falling in love with your idea, but like quickly pivoting to like find out what is it that kind of like works, right? Versus let's say you're in a big org, you have to understand the grand scheme of like what is the organization strategy, where is the org going, right? Like where are other teams going, and like how your solution could should be like supporting it to kind of like get that right. Yeah, so understanding the context of like where you are, what period of the product you are in, and then like taking the right steps from there is like important, right? So these are some things that I see. There are obviously PMs who are who have higher bias problems and thinking facts versus assumption, right? Like it's very easy to assume a lot of things and not really understand what's the ground truth, right? So all of these I typically see as a pitfall, and I mean, including myself, pretty much been a victim of all of this, and hopefully, yeah. So fixing this would really help in general.
Okay, nice. Like user acquisition. We can say we want to we take the first step to acquire something in our early startup or as well as MNC. Like user acquisition is the main thing we think about it. How, what are the strategies, what are the channels, what are the medium
Yeah.
sources. So if, for example, if we talk about landing page as a critical role in user acquisition, how do you optimize the landing page and user flows to maximize the conversions? And like, what are the
Yeah.
most important metrics to evaluate that so that your conversion rate optimization strategies are fulfilling to your strategies?
Yep, yep. I think it like it sounds silly that the product manager eventually goes to the user. It all kind of then ends up understanding the user. Like for example, I am building a fintech product, right? Like I have so many kinds of different users who I might be targeting, right? So couple of strategies that I've used. For example, I was trying to build a referral program where I was trying to optimize the entire like landing page to like kind of acquiring those customers, right? So one learning was basically customization. I realized that like even within like a broad set of users of a particular income range, people have different needs. Like for example, somebody who has very little income is probably okay to refer for some money, but let's say somebody who has slightly higher income, this person would have so much social currency that that they would not simply refer for money, but they would basically only refer if they think they're helping their friend, right? So understanding what is your user, what you should sell to each of this user is very important. So these two users would click differently based on what copy you send give them, right? So one is understand who your users are, what their problems are, like how do they react to different kinds of like messaging, right? So that's very important. The second thing, probably think of the entire flow as almost like a story, like almost like a movie, right? Like imagine a user gets in to a landing page. They have something in their mind because of which they have really clicked your link, right? And they're on that page. And now what happens is like you kind of like show them a problem. You kind of tease them with the CTA, right? Like, okay, do you want to earn like 10% every year, like by investing on goals, for example, right? And they click on the CTA. Now they're expecting, okay, like like I know I can earn 10%, but like how, right? So there is a sequence, a story to like how that is set. So figure making the flows into a very good story is important. And just like in any kind of like movies or stories, you need surprises, you need like an high moment and all of that, right? So I pretty much think of it like a movie in that aspect, right? So finally, how do you get the user from a landing page to kind of like get to activation is what you kind of need to like think about it. And like I said, there can be customization pathways as well, right? Like somebody likes wants to invest in gold, like he probably wants to look at everything about gold. Somebody is just curious about mutual funds, he might just want to learn only about mutual funds, right? So so that's another one. And finally, eventually I think it is all also about a lot of analytics, right? So once you figure out your flows, you need to break these like users into user segmentations, figure out what is your conversion rate across these different segmentation, and then like have a very methodical approach to like go solve your funnel problem, right? So there's a lot of interesting analytics that like technically goes with it, but these have been like my major experiences solving funnels.
Right, what you have said about like landing page, what are the CTAs? So everyone should know about it. What the CTAs plays a really important role in
Yeah,
their landing pages. People are not understanding it because it's like what other are offerings we are also will be offering. But I think CTAs should be different. There should be a QB, what you are offering to the others according to
yeah,
your competitor, against to your competitors. So I think that is very helpful what you have
yeah,
already said right now. What I have thought, like user research and customer insights are always helpful in every field of
yeah.
marketing, product, or as well as tech as well. But if we talk about centrally to the product management, can you
Right.
explain how you approach user segmentation, customer journey mapping, or the feature prioritization in your work?
Yeah, I think this is probably one of my favorite things to do, like in the whole thing on general scheme of things in product management, right? So the way I approach user insights, for example, user research, for example, is that one is through data and other is through like interviews, right? So I what I typically do is I try to get all the kinds of data that I have on the users. Like so, this can be usage, this can be all kinds of dimensions, like what is their income, what is are they like a family, so it depends on the kind of product you are. So try to get all kinds of dimensions of data, try to segment them into like personas basically, right? And once you try to segment them into personas, you try to figure out what is the behavior that you see, right? Like for example, different kinds of segments of users ideally would like behave differently, right? And once you do that, then you come up with a list of hypotheses. So like why do I think a certain persona is like behaving in a certain way, right? And what is the problem that they have? So you come up with a list of problems or hypotheses there, and then I typically kind of like get to user interviews where try to understand, and probably not through like direct questions, using mom's test, like using different ways to kind of like uh, get those insights, right? So that's how my user research process typically is. And the life cycle is like once you get those hypotheses, you validate if those hypotheses is true or not. That's how it will get into your roadmap, right? So you figure out, okay, what are the top problems that you want to solve, and in that order it kind of becomes your roadmap. And then you figure out, okay, with engineering, oh, what can you now really build, right? Like I have too many things. And then that's how you kind of like get to a release planning of sorts, right? So that's my typical approach there.
Okay, so we can say the first step to reach that customer journey mapping is the first to realize
Yeah.
what is your hypothesis, what is the
Right.
work you want to do.
Yeah.
Right, cool. AI is everywhere. We are listening that we are surrounded by AI. But with AI becoming a major player in the product management as well, how do you see it is changing the landscape? Like, do you believe that AI will be a dominant role in decision making, or there will be always a side for the human creativity and human side in the product development field?
Yeah, I think if you like, since was in the field and like right now practicing product management, I just have probably a unique perspective here. The thing with AI, what it has changed right now is your time to research, your time to know anything is just like drastically different. Let's say Bhumika wants to become an expert in like investing in startups, she could probably like go learn it on Grok or like go learn it on like OpenAI, right? But the difference is like although you have all the information, but decision making is really an art, right? Like I finally realized that product management is more about art than like science, because you need to balance so many things. You probably have learned a lot, you have a lot of hypotheses, but then like what is the thing that you would probably start is finally like the art there, right? Or for example, being empathetic with user problems and really knowing like what is the real problem to solve. Like sometimes you could be fooled by numbers, you could look at numbers and you could imagine that your conversion rate's probably high, but let's say if you saw an user actually working through your website or your landing page, you probably will, just looking at their expression, you probably will understand more of like, are they really understanding this, or is there like a trick that they're just like clicking through and going into it, right? So there's a lot of things that humans bring here, which is in the creative bent of things, right? So which is why I think um, AI definitely has changed product management. Your access to information, understanding all that information is drastically fast, but making complicated decision is still something I feel humans so far do better. But maybe AI can like prove me wrong in future for sure.
No, if it can do in future as well, but there is instinct of human, which we talk, which we have a conversation with each other. We get to know the point of view, what is working in the marketing, what is working in the field of technology. The exchange of information that humans do, I think that gives the creativity to think about an idea rather than
Yeah.
just typing out and get that idea from AI because thousands of people are using it.
Yeah.
But what we think out of our mind is a really different point, and it is valuable for every field. I can say that. Not a specific, I'm
Yeah.
talking about a critical field or anything else.
Yeah.
But this will be applied to overall that we should learn the right side to use the AI, but how to enhance it with our creativity is like our goal, is our achievement we can do.
Yeah.
For example, what is your process for product testing? As I'm a marketing person,
Yeah.
I don't know about product testing, how it works, how it is done, and how do you do that? Your products are really getting the feedbacks, market
Right.
demand, the measurable
Yeah.
outcomes for your engagement, so you can know that these are the things you want to improve, and you have got the feedback for this thing. So, like, what are
Yeah.
the step-by-step process you are going through?
Yeah, yeah. This a kind of like again depends on the kind of product and like like for example, in a healthcare SaaS, it's like totally different. If it's like an early stage, it's totally different, right? Maybe I could talk about what is it like to build like an early stage MVP and like how do you kind of like iterate or like test through that or get feedback there, right? So when you are in like a very early stage, it really boils down to like actually going and talking to users and understanding like key insights, right? So when you build something, when you build an MVP post through all your process, and like when you build that, the first thing that I really want to focus is still like putting the product in the user's hand and then actually testing it. Like for example, for me it has been where I've gone to parties and like I've gone to pubs, I've just dropped my app in the hands of like users and really see how do they like go through it, right? Like without even telling them what the product is, right? So that's like one kind of insight. But like as your product scales, then you have more data coming through internet. Like for example, Google Analytics will tell you what are people searching for your product or like not really searching for product. What are they searching your product with, right? Like for example, right? What problem is that like solving? So that's another kind of like insight that people get, right? So you have all other sorts like your reviews is like probably if you another kind of information, or what conversations that people have. Let's say if you are a product manager for like a popular product, let's say phone pay, or like let's say Google Pay, right? You could even overhear conversations of like what are people talking about the product, right? So there are different kinds of like feedback that you get, and the idea is then you can have so much feedback, but like you still have your goals of for the company. You still have to prioritize which of these feedback is like really critical, right? So that then it kind of gets into a ruthless prioritization exercise for me, and then you finally decide, okay, what do I now like really iterate or like improve on, right? For example, maybe you don't like the phone page UI, right? Like but let's say phone page change the UI, people still don't like the UI. So it finally boils down to like what is it that you want to like finally achieve from like a business goal, and also like satisfy user problems, and you have to be ruthless in like that whole prioritization exercise.
Okay, nice. I have one question from like I had this personal question with you.
Yeah.
I'm a from a marketing person. I have to juggle between product team, marketing team, and technology team if I have to find something.
Yeah.
So how do you ensure that the smooth communication you are doing within from your field of product to the
Yeah.
marketing as well as technology? Like it is
Mm.
timely, it will get delayed. So it is
Yeah.
overall or just it happens with me.
Yeah, I think this is a common problem for me that I've faced, right? And I've been terrible at it like early on, because you realize that communication is very critical, right? Like since you work with so many teams, what they think about like what you're building, or like what stage it is, right? It's very kind of like critical. Uh, I kind of use async communication, email communication as much as I can, right? Like which means like which means that they clearly know that okay, we are building something, we're shipping something. What are we like shipping, like for example, right? The other places that you can use communication is every organization will have its own rituals. Like for example, you can have your stand up, you can have your like all teams meeting, or like a company wide meeting, right? So ensure like every opportunity that you get, you kind of like shout from top of your lungs on like what exactly is your like team solving, right? And then it comes down to these like one-on-ones, right? Like say, who is my marketing counterpart, who is my like engineering counterpart, right? Like how do you build a relationship, right? So there is this personal aspect there. Like if you are able to build good relationships, you tend to kind of like communicate more, and like you tend to be in sync. So having that whole personal relationship with like all of these people kind of like then helps, because then you're all in sync and you're able to do it, right? But yeah, sometimes it could also get overwhelming to a lot of people as well, because like for example, right now, like in an MNC, I probably have like 40-50 people who are like my direct stakeholders that I have to like talk to in different periods of the year, right? But yeah, having a rough structure of like which of these different rituals or calls that I can maximize, emails that I can maximize through the communication, typically helps me, right? But everybody has a different way to approach this, so maybe I think people do this differently.
Yeah, right. I think it's a universal problem. Everyone juggles because of this. But it is because every team has their priorities. So I think this is a common issue people are realizing and they
Yeah.
are sorting in their field as well. Like in your opinion, what are the trends that are overhyped in product management? Like which are the practices that you think that can truly transform to manage the product, but they are over trended and they are very hyped in the marketing.
Yeah, there are a lot of like overhyped things. Like for example, right now, if you look at it, everybody's trying to solve something with LLMs, right? Like, which is crazy. Like because LLMs, if you fundamentally understand, they are stochastic in nature, not precise, right? So people are trying to solve problems like which requires deterministic approach using like LLMs, right? So I see a lot of that in product management today, right? Like so using a technology which doesn't really apply, and trying to force fit like a problem or a solution using like a technology, right? Like that's one of the common pitfalls that I see. The second one is trying to oversolve for things. Like for example, this is more true for like a startup space, right? So when you're building a product, you want to keep it very simple, and you don't want to be like over solving it to a larger extent, right? So you want to be solving it to the right amount and then like build on top of once you kind of like get those feedback, right? So yeah, that's like another kind of like issue that I see today. In terms of product practices that I do see is like especially I think in corporates there are a lot of rituals on how do you do your sprint planning, then you have your sprints, and then you have like retrospective, right? Like I feel like because I'm in from the startup world, like all of these like rituals don't really make sense. They're not truly agile according to me, but yeah. So these are some of the things that I feel like are like over hyped in the space. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Like, these are the conversation people are really looking forward. Like, what are the overhyped trends for the people who are already working with that field? So I think these are the conversation that will really help to our audience to get the views according to their interest, according to their point of view. So it was a great conversation with you, and that's all. Thank you for joining us. Thank you with connecting Fiber AI with you. And I hope our audience will get a good information from you as well as they will get a good insights. And thank you for joining us, Manish.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Bhumika. It was lovely talking to you. Yeah. Have a good day.
Yeah, yeah. Have a good day. Thank you.